get into the predicted lineup, I'm seeing all these comments saying, Ben, you got a problem with Bissouma and all this kind of stuff. I absolutely love Yves Bissouma.
You have an agenda against Bissouma.
I absolutely love Bissouma, but I think you got to call a spade for what it is at the moment, and he's not playing well. That's just essentially what it is. And I want to see when you're not playing well, either you play yourself back into form or you come out of the team for a game or two and you put whoever's playing better into the team. That's why you have a squad.
Disgusting. Disgusting agenda. Horrible.
Agenda against Yves Bissouma.
I hope Bissouma's not watching this because he'd be fuming.
Bissouma, if you are watching this, I love you, but you need to get back into form. But let's get into the predicted lineup and let's start off with the injury news. So what have we got?
What don't we have? So obviously Sarr is still out for this game, although Ange did say in good news he should be back for the game on Sunday against Newcastle. Richarlison is available again. He obviously came on in the last 5 minutes against City. He said he is available, but he's probably only going to be available again late in the game if we need him, so I don't expect him to start on this one. But then obviously Perisic, Solomon, Session van der Ven, Bentancur, Dyer, still long terms. He did have something to tell Maddison, because Maddison obviously was speaking to Amazon about his injury, saying, it's a slow burner and it could be out for 3 months. But Ange said, he said something funny. He said, Maddison's not a doctor, he's not a medic, so I wouldn't trust completely what he says on the injury. And as far
I'm sure
as
he does speak to the medics,
he said as far as he knows, Maddison's progressing very well. So we'll see when he's back, and maybe Maddison's being pessimistic about it, but he's obviously not going to be fit for this game. We know that for sure.
All right, so look, I think in terms of the injuries and in terms of our frailties at the back, I think the worst is over now. I do think the worst is over with Cuti Romero coming back in the side. Yes, we're going to lose a few players in January as well, but they're not players in the back line. So I think that will put us in good stead for sure. But going into the predicted lineup, in goal is obviously going to be Venom Vicario, who in my opinion has been the best goalkeeper in the league this season. Yeah,
and he's also, in this game, set pieces is going to be massive, and he's going to have to be very commanding and relieve the pressure when he can in those situations. But I think he's been in good form. I think he's playing well at the moment, so hope that continues.
So Venom in goal, right back Pedro Porro, who I actually think these two players on screen right now have probably been our most consistent performers this season.
Yeah, I don't think he's had a bad game, Porro, and I've said it as well. I think when it comes to playing out the back and beating the press and the way we like to build up from the back, I just think he's our best player in the back line for it. He finds so many good creative solutions. He's not scared to play a long pass and into the centre, and he's got quality to do it as well. It makes so much difference when he's there on the ball compared to an Emerson in terms of just building up for the back and finding a creative solution. Obviously his set pieces, he's probably going to be taking set pieces in this game as well. That could be vital, but I'm being really happy with Porro. And even before the Man City game, we were doing the panel and people still complaining about his defending. I'm just thinking, what are people watching? Because he just hasn't been a liability defensively this season. He's actually been really solid, and I thought he showed that again against Doku on Sunday. I thought he had a really good game again, so being so happy with Porro.
Porro can probably go home every night and just take all the left wingers out of his pocket every night, and he puts them on his mantelpiece and say, look, I pocketed you. He's been absolutely brilliant. So let's move on to right centre-back, and a very welcome return to Cuti Romero. And how much of a difference is he going to make?
I think it'll be a massive difference. But the difference between having him and Emerson is gigantic. I think from all facets, I think from playing out the back, he's a lot more confident. There's a lot more quality when he does it. Romero, I think defensively, is a lot more proactive. And I think as well, Van der Ven spoke about, and Porro, I think, spoke about how much of a leader he's become in the backline this season. And that's definitely something we've lacked over the past few games. I feel like there has been a voice in that centre-back shouting, making sure people are doing their jobs and all those different things. And the communication has been a big issue between Emerson and Davis at the back, them not talking to each other, them not identifying the threats where they are. It's led to, the second goal against Villa, where no one went close to him, against City.
Countless amounts of chances,
Foden's just walks into the box and no one tracking him. So hopefully Romero can go some way to stopping those kind of things happening. Obviously, we're still no Van der Ven, so we're not going to have that recovery pace still. But having that proactive defensive nature Romero has, and that leadership, I really think is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, on the left-hand side of defence, obviously Ben Davies. And for everyone, that had worries about Ben Davies coming in, I actually think he's come in and done a stellar job.
I think he's done well. I think he's done really well. And I think he's had his issues. I think Watkins bullied him on a few occasions. I think that he had issues there. Against City, I think the defence as well had issues. I don't think him particularly was any more at fault than anyone else, to be fair. And he did also show he's got his physical side for that second goal, for Lo Celso's goal, when he steps in ahead of Haaland and wins a duel against him. So
he kind of did drop deep though too early. Was it for Foden's goal when he was just keeping everyone on side? Was it Foden's goal? I can't remember.
I don't think that was his. Anyway, I have to analyse the goal again. I don't think that was his fault completely. But he's not been perfect. But I think he's done a much better job than people may have expected. No Antonio as well in this game. I think is going to be massively beneficial to him, because I think that's the biggest problem he has at centre back, is playing against really physical strikers, and he's not going to have that to deal with. So I think if it's a choice between keeping Davies or Emerson at centre back, we're going to go with Davies. And I think as well, playing out the back, he's been pretty decent as well. So I'm happy to stick with Davies in this one.
And then to make up that back four on the left-hand side, Destiny Udogie, whose physical presence is massive for us in this game.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have some worries up against probably Kudus, or could even be Bowen on that side, depending on who plays where. But if we're going to assume it's Kudus, obviously very good one-on-one defender, very physical as well. He's had a lot of challenges this season, and by and large, he's dealt with them pretty well. But I do think it's going to be another one. But hopefully he asks Kudus more questions than Kudus asks him. And hopefully, if we play our game, it means Udogie is going to be getting in all sorts of spaces, and Kudus isn't going to track him back. I don't know how Kudus is off the ball, but that's not something I haven't really identified. But if he's not on his game, then hopefully he could lead to Udogie getting in all sorts of spaces.
He's got previous against West Ham, didn't he, Udogie, in the pre-season?
Scored in the pre-season with a header as well.
And his first game, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did.
But let's run through that back line with you guys one more time. Vicario in goal, Pedro Porro right back, Destiny Udogie left back, Kuti, Romero and Ben Davies in the centre-back positions. Now, who are we going to put in the number 6? We're going to put in Yves Bissouma.
Oh, the agenda. The agenda. Yeah, we're going to stick with Bissouma. We think he's probably going to stay in the team for this game. I do think our best chance of winning is having a Bissouma at his best. And so to do that, he's going to have to be playing. So we think Bissouma is going to start. And you also got to remember last few games, I don't know how much of an impact not having a centre-back behind him as well would have had on him. Maybe he felt he needs to be a bit deeper and all that kind of stuff as well. You've got to take that into account. So hopefully Bissouma's getting back to his best in this one. He's going to be up against some really solid central midfielders, Paquetá, Ward-Prowse, Edson Alvarez. He's going to have to be strong, but I'm backing him to get back to his best in this one.
Yeah. So Bissouma in the number 6. Let's look at the other two midfielders now. First one we're going to look at is Dejan, who's just been incredible in these last 2 games. He really has stepped it up tenfold from what he's shown this season, which he already was having a strong season. But I think since moving into that middle of the park, we're really starting to see the best of him now, aren't we? Yeah.
The only question mark really is if Højbjerg comes in maybe in that role, in my opinion, because he did that in the second half. He put Kulusevski back out wide, and he had Højbjerg in the centre. But if we're going, I'm going to go with what we want to see, and I think Kulusevski playing central midfield like he did in the first 45 against City, and like he did for the majority of the game against Villa, I think that's going to be our best avenue to just asking as many questions as possible against West Ham. You could argue him in the centre. Are we going to get overrun? Are we going to get bullied? That's a risk you're going to have to take. I'm backing on his physicality not to do that, and him to stand up to those challenges and be able to compete with them. But that's the risk that you run when you're playing against some really solid centre mids that West Ham have.
Yeah, I don't think we get overrun with Kulu in the middle. I just think like you said, like that physical presence he has, I think will stand us in massive stead. And as well with his partner, we're going to go on the left-hand side with Giovanni Lo Celso. Again, he's been a bit of revelation in these last 2 games coming in. No one really gave him a chance, to be honest, after that Fulham Carabao Cup game. Everyone was ready to throw him by the wayside, and obviously the troubles that he has had since joining Tottenham. But he's filled that void that Maddison has left quite well in the last 2 games.
Yeah, doing so well. 2 goals in 2 games and 2 really good performances as well. Obviously, I think he has been taken off in both games around the 75th minute mark, so maybe that's a consequence of the amount of game time he's had so far this season. Maybe he's still finding complete match fitness, which is surprise even given how well he's played, but I'm really liking his performances. He's adding that little bit of imagination and creativity in the middle that we've been missing since Maddison's gone, that bit of creative passing as well. But what I really like him is his ability to always look forward, always be progressive, always be positive, which is something that definitely when, for example, in the Wolves performance when we had no technicians in the centre, it's something we definitely lacked and definitely was at the detriment to us. So I'm really excited to see Gio, how he goes again, and hopefully he has another good performance.
Yeah, and that was kind of mistake that Ange made in that Wolves game of not having Lo Celso probably in the team because we had no creativity whatsoever. And it's good with Ange because he always, whenever he does make a mistake or whenever things aren't going right, he puts it right. And he did that the next game, putting Gio back in. So credit to him. But that's a midfield of Bissouma, Kulusevski and Giovanni Lo Celso. On the right-hand side, we're going to go for Brennan Johnson, who I think, he's performed well for Spurs so far, but I feel like he's growing as a Spurs player at the moment. And game on game, you feel like he's getting more integrated in the team.
Definitely has a feeling of more to come for Johnson. There's been like spurts of really good stuff. And what I would say is as well, last couple of games when he started on the right, he's given Digne a very difficult time in that first half. He gave Gvardiol a few troubles as well. And I think those two left-backs are much better defensively than Emerson is. So I think he's really going to be licking his lips when it comes up against Emerson going on the outside. I think he's much quicker than him. And I think he's going to have a good opportunity to really take him to the cleaners. But he's obviously struggled a bit when it comes to his fitness. But then again, 90th minute, got an assist in the City game with getting half a yard off Kyle Walker as well. So maybe that's something that's improving for him as well. I would like to see him start on the right. I think that's going to be where he's his most effective. And I think he's got a really good chance here of causing West Ham a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So Johnson on the right. Up front is obviously going to be the main man, the captain, the leader, Heung-min Son, who on top of that has a great record against West Ham. I
think it's 3 home games in a row he scored against West Ham at the Tottenham Stadium as well. So definitely has a good record. Obviously, these kind of games are a bit more difficult for Son than maybe even games against like City or the bigger games, because in the bigger games, Son likes to play in that space. And these games, the space isn't going to be as easy to find. But I think definitely this season he's showing signs of adding more boast to his game, being more of a team player, being better with his back to goal and bringing teammates into the game. And that's the real benefit of what I'm seeing from Son. And as well, he's showing signs of he can be that striker even in congested areas, can find finishes and can find solutions. So I do envisage it not being the easiest game for Son, but I think the form he's in and how he's playing, I think he can still have a very good game.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. And then to make up the final 11 on the left-hand side, we are going to go for Bryan Hill. Ange did mention that Richarlison ain't quite ready yet to start, only will have limited minutes in this game. So there is, after the team that we have picked, only real one option.
Yeah, we're going to go with Bryan Hill. Obviously, the only other option, because obviously Bryan Hill went off at half-time again. City didn't have the best game in that one, had a very difficult task of taking on Kyle Walker. And I think maybe Ange just realised he wasn't up to it in that game. But the only other option is maybe putting Johnson on the left, Kulu on the right, putting Højbjerg in, because that's what we played in the second half against City and had a really good game. But I'm going to back Ange to continue with what he saw against Villa in that game. And that means keeping Bryan Hill in the team, and hopefully when coming up against someone like Soufal, he's going to have a lot more opportunities to get at him and have a lot more joy than he was against Walker. And I think as well, it's good to just give another opportunity to prove himself, because I think he's not been great over the past 2 games, but I do think he's shown enough not to say he's like been that bad that he can never start again or anything like that. So I think he has shown enough to like get another opportunity. So even against City, it wasn't a great half for him. There were still some good things there. He was involved in the first goal. He did that really good interception half the pitch that nearly created a chance. Like he did some good things. So
in the first 10 minutes when we were on top, he was actually keeping the ball really well.
So I want to give him another opportunity. So we're going to keep Hill in the team.
Yeah, and also what it gives us is it gives us a left footer on the left, the right footer on the right. We can spread the pitch even wider than maybe we do when Kulu is on that right hand side, because he always likes to tuck in. And what we know about Ange Postecoglou, he likes his wingers to be very wide, which we haven't really seen on a consistent basis for Spurs yet. So it maybe gives us that tactical, that tactics that Ange likes to play, really.
And I think even against a team like West Ham, who do like to play narrow, it's even more important to do that.
Yeah. All right, let's run through that predicted lineup with you guys one more time. So that's Vicario in goal, Pedro Porro right back, Destiny Udogie left back, Romero and Davis in the centre back positions, Bissouma, Lo Celso, Kulusevski in the midfield, with Brian Hill and Brennan Johnson supporting Heung-min Son. We've given our predictions in the preview. Sim has gone for 3-1. I have gone for 3-2 to Tottenham Hotspur. So very much looking forward to the game tomorrow night. Me and Sim will both be in the stadium getting all the action for you guys. I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a feisty atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You got Barnaby and Ashmatic here in the studio for the watch along, so come and join them for that. But yeah, that is our predicted lineup.